I want to suck your blood. I fly! I fly! Go away!
Before we get into this episode of Behind the Workshop, I wanted to thank you guys for 3,000 views on Every Last Drop. It is now our most viewed film on Aurum Creative Studios, which is insane. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out, because in this video there will be spoilers for that, so continue at your own risk. In our screenwriting class, we had to watch a show called What We Do in the Shadows, and it heavily inspired what I wrote for Every Last Drop. Instead of it being a family of vampires, or a found family of vampires, I just wanted it to focus on a pair of brothers. One of them a vampire, and one of them a normal human. The elements that I wrote for Every Last Drop in the beginning were very, very horrifying and very sad. Maybe too sad for comedy. So it went through a lot of rewrites. The story had always been about a brother trying to save his brother through one of his patients that he works with at an elderly care facility. But like I said, it was very, very sad. So I had Michael and Adrian help me out with this. And that's when it turned into a more lighthearted fight between a teenage-esque vampire and an elderly woman. Yeah, sure, that's lighthearted. Not typically my brand of story writing, but when you have two crazy guys around you trying to come up with stories, you kind of get mixed up in their craziness too.
Very horny grandma.
Very horny grandma. I wanted to work with one house. That way it would be easier to work with. So we could have one room be Miss Brady's, one room be Ash's bedroom, and the hallway be used for the brother's house, as well as the exterior for the exterior of Mrs. Brady's. It works. One of the favored tools of a independent filmmaker is Airbnb. You can easily rent it out for a couple days of shooting, which typically people use for vacationing. It can get expensive though. It's kind of hard because you can't really tell them that you're using it to film, but you know. I also wanted a big crew. I typically work with a big crew, that way it's easier to dull out things and I'm not having to stress about other things. Turns out though, there were some scheduling conflicts, so we met a lot of new people on this shoot, and it actually turned into some of our more trusted crews that we've ever worked with, especially when it came to our art department. Now for the most fun part, casting. Comedy is a form of acting. Comedy is the hardest form of acting, and you need to have good actors in order to find a mix that actually seemed believable. So when it came down to our casting, it was very viable that the brothers were believable, Miss Brady was hilarious, even the security guard was a form to be laughable. Harris, who plays Ash, from the get-go was a goofy and lovable personality, which strongly contrasts to a typical vampire aesthetic, which I loved. Mateus, who I've actually worked with in one of our previous films, which will come out pretty soon, he has such amazing comedic timing. And hopefully you'll be able to see that when Surprise comes around.
When you go big time. Whoa, hey.
When we got Rick's audition for security guard, it was unbelievable.
Kids in there. Key fobs.
He took this tiny role, this little half-day role, and blew it out of the water. It was so hilarious. And speaking of hilarious, Carol. When we first saw her audition, we burst into laughter every single time we watched it. So let's get down into production. Day one, I checked into the Airbnb, and it was raining. Day one involved exteriors, and if it was raining, that was gonna mess up the entire shoot. But you persevere, you keep going. So I put in all the gear and all the crafty, and me, Michael, and Adrian stayed the night at the Airbnb, and we're ready to shoot for day one. Day one involved our hallway, Ash's bedroom, and the exterior. The hallway was filmed first, so we could work with Ash's makeup and also get his bedroom ready. Unfortunately, When we were doing Ash's makeup, the fangs weren't sticking. That's kind of the thing when it comes to filmmaking. You gotta roll with the punches. And so, we have a wonderful Adrian on set.
That's me.
I don't know how that looked.
I don't know how that looked either. Just gonna...
That might have been really close to your face. I don't even know if that captured your face.
That's me.
As you know, Adrian does incredible CGI and graphic work. So he was actually able to make all the fangs and just the savior in this project, because if we didn't have fangs, we didn't have a vampire. And you can't really do this script without a vampire. Once we got that covered, we set to film Ash's bedroom, and we would not believe how well that Mateus and Harris clicked. They actually felt like brothers. And they had only known each other for less than a day. After, I think the next day, they went to Disney Springs, and they went to get coffee. When we started in the exteriors, that's when art department worked on getting Miss Brady's room ready and also breaking down Ash's bedroom. That's also when Rick came into the scheme. And he is incredible, honestly. Him and Mateus just rolled off each other's quips, and I just let them roll with it.
Throw your crotches in the face.
So now we're in Miss Brady's room, and we finally got to meet Carol in person. Again, it's so weird seeing this sweet elderly woman and then having her to say the most innocuous things.
That reminds me of '69 when I was at Woodstock.
She was just willing and ready to roll with whatever we want. I basically segmented that scene into 3 chunks. We had the before fight, the fight, and then the after fight. But after the fight, we had one issue. We didn't have our knife. It's kind of an issue, and that's kind of the big thing that happens in the film. Luckily, we had Jonah, who is our key grip.
The knife has been covered in electrical tape.
So our key grip turned into our armorer, and our fake prop turned into a real one. Luckily, we had a whole safety demonstration, and Jonah that was there with his expertise, because he does have background in it, to make a scene that actually we could have a weapon safely. And from that, we ended.
5 Transylvania, Martini, take 1, tail slate, MOS.
The way you threw that.
Beautiful.
And that is an official wrap on every last drop.
And everything from that point on had its struggles, had its conflicts, had the rise and falls of champions, but in the end, we got through it, especially when it came to post-production. I hate post-production. I am not a post-production girly. I can edit. I won't edit if I don't have to. Luckily, I have friends. And editing, because probably I wasn't involved as much as actually like fingers on keyboard sort of situation, it probably took a little longer because I never worked with an editor before. So, yeah. But I've learned a lot from it, which is what you can say about most of the shoot. Like I said, overall, it was just an amazing time. We made some friends who now we get to work with on a regular basis and just hang out in general. Memories were made, friendships were formed in the bonds of filmmaking, and we made a movie. So go watch every last drop. The link is in the description. Don't forget to share, comment, and subscribe. Enjoy it. I'm thirsty. It's not what it looks like. I have hemophobia. Coppery.